Bill C-63 is arguably the most controversial bill in Canadian history. There's a lot of for and against on all sides. Some are saying that it's a great piece of legislation and it's going to do its job that it was drafted for. And others say that it is the most ridiculous law ever drafted in the free world. So we're right now in an environment where it's just really difficult to take any particular news outlet seriously because I'm finding that everything is extremely polarized right now. If they're against the liberals, they are massively against the liberals. If they're against the PCs, it's the same thing. And trying to find a common ground to understand what this bill is really and genuinely all about has been difficult. Now, the other day I came across an interview with Glenn Beck and Ezra Levant. Ezra Levant owns Rebel News. I liked the interview because Ezra touched on a number of points that are very valid, and they were points that I could actually find and locate in the bill itself. So what I'm going to do is move us directly into the video. I'm going to let the video go through and stop it in key points, and I'm going to bring you over to where the document is on my computer, and I'm going to show you the actual verbiage that he's talking about so that when he says things like you can go to prison for life for offending somebody, we can actually back that up. So here we go, and this is going to be interesting.
We say what happens in Canada today may happen in the U.S. 5 years from now. It's like we're a bad time machine to see your future. This week, Justin Trudeau introduced a new bill called Bill C-63. It's got a lot of things in it that are atrocious. He's created a new hate crime bill, life in prison, new hate crime law. There's nothing that gets you life in prison in Canada, not even murder, but hate speech now does. He's created a pre-crime for hate. If you have, quote, fear of hate, that's the title of the section of the law, you can get a judge to issue a kind of restraining order against your enemy before he does anything, before he says anything. And that restraining order can include house arrest, giving up.
Okay, so we will interrupt the video to dive right into that. So he mentions going to prison for life. And here it is. It's right in our documentation here. So anyone who commits an offense under this act or any other act of parliament, if the commission of the offense is motivated by hatred based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation or gender identity or expression, is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for life. So there it is. Okay. It's not being over exaggerated. It's not being overstated. Then the second point that I wanted to point out to you was the person that is in fear of hate. So a person may, with the Attorney General's consent, lay an information before a provincial court judge if the person fears on reasonable grounds that another person will commit an offense. So it's there twice. So if I am afraid you are going to offend me, I can get you in big trouble. I don't honestly know who thought of this or how it's going to work, but how does a judicial system, or how does a country work when you can lay charges against somebody that you think is going to offend you? Let's continue.
Up any lawful firearms, limiting who he can talk to directly or indirectly, limiting the places he can go, and requiring him to take urine and blood tests. Just because you are, quote, afraid he might in the future say some hate speech. He doesn't have to have done anything in the past. This is a pre-crime, like in that science fiction movie, Minority Report. That's in this bill. Let me tell you other things in this bill.
It really actually wouldn't be a bad idea if you're watching this to tune into that movie, Minority Report, because I remember that, and that's what this is all about. It's trying to control people, and it's trying to control their thinking, and it's trying to put in such fear. I mean, can you imagine honestly living in a society where you are constantly in fear of being brought before the tribunal, the commission, because somebody felt that you were going to be offensive? I mean, seriously, imagine that. You're in a situation at work, and you're under some contract negotiations. You're trying to work through a problem at work, and next thing you know, you've been arrested and you've been brought to the tribunal because you offended somebody. Like, seriously, this is where this can go. Let's keep going here.
Donald Trump and his travails with the U.S. legal system, they're covered a lot by the Canadian media, and Justin Trudeau's obsessed with Donald Trump. So he's been watching what Democrats have done, and he's learned from it. Trump is being prosecuted by high-profile prosecutors. Trudeau has one-upped that. Trudeau has now said that anyone in Canada, even non-citizens, can file hate speech complaints against anyone. And if they're successful, they get $20,000 from the target, and the target has to pay a fine of up to $50,000. So let me just say this more clearly. If there's anyone on social media, because this is the social media law Trudeau's introduced, if there's anyone who has a YouTube video, a tweet, a Facebook comment that you think creates hate, you can go to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal and complain about it. You don't have to hire a lawyer. You don't have to spend any money. The government will have the hearing, and if your complaint is upheld, you get $20,000 from the victim. So instead of having maybe 20...
Wait. Who gets the 30, the remaining 30?
20 goes to the complainant, and an additional 50 goes to the government. So you're on the hook for $70,000 a pop.
Okay, so let's look this one up in the documentation. Is it there? Yes. In order to pay compensation of not more than $20,000 to any victim, it's there. It's there. And the comment about $50,000 going to as a fine, it's there too, right here. $50,000 to the Receiver General. So none of this is being over exaggerated or overstated for the sake of fear. These are facts. This is in the documentation. And we need to pay attention to this because this is going to get expensive.
So let's take someone like Jordan Peterson. Every day he's saying something controversial on YouTube, on Twitter. Oh, and by the way, this applies to all of your historical work that's online. So as long as it's still online and you control it,
oh my God,
they can go back through your history, 5 years, 10 years, and why wouldn't they complain about literally every tweet you make, literally every YouTube video? There's no cost, there's no downside, and even if only 5% of your complaints get through to the target, you're smacking them with $20,000 for yourself and a $50,000 fine. This will create a huge industry. So Trudeau saw what they were doing to Trump and said, I can do one better. I'm not going to have a few sniper shots. I'm going to have a shotgun blast. I'm going to have hundreds of complaints swarming my enemies, and I don't even have to do it. I will mobilize a woke army. But there's one more thing, and people can't believe it when I tell it to them, but it's right there in the law in black and white. You can make a complaint in secret, and the target of your complaint never gets to know your identity. You can give evidence in secret. The complaint can be made in secret. So you could have a company, a political party, a busybody.
So that's going to be the next point, third point. I almost said fourth. So the non-disclosure of identity and persons. So it is true. You can make these complaints anonymously. Now, this isn't something that's necessarily new in Canada. With the Human Rights Tribunal, the idea of placing complaints, lodging complaints against others, and doing it anonymously, that's been around for quite some time. I would invite you to look at the history of Ezra Levant. This happened to him some time ago, and he was dragged before the Human Rights Tribunal, and he had to defend some actions that he had done. So this into itself is nothing new for Canada, but when you think about the broad-reaching scope of what can be done to a person or a company or a political party, I emphasize, the mess can be just enormous. And as Ezra was just saying, you could have somebody who has an axe to grind against Jordan Peterson or, I don't know, me, you, Pierre Poilievre, and just lodge complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint, getting my 20 grand at every pass. That's where this is going, and this is why it is so disturbing. There's no checks or balances. There's no fairness, context, even with the ability for them to go through your history on Facebook and Twitter. I mean, I am not perfect. I am not perfect, but now if this passes, I have to check every single thing I've ever posted. Is there any possible way that what I posted or reposted or that stupid joke, can it create some kind of hate that creates a problem for someone? So over here, the offense motivated by hatred, physical disability. So let me get this straight. If I post a picture of me on my motorcycle, could that be construed as hate for somebody who is physically disabled and can't ride a motorcycle? How far does this go? The one that scares me the most is the arguments with the transgender community. Now, I want you to understand something. I am just a regular guy. I wish nobody harm. I don't want anybody to be harmed or even feel uncomfortable around me. That's just the truth. I'm just the guy that you see at Canadian Tire or Home Depot. We pass each other all the time. But when I see the arguments, when I see the conversations and the heated, the arguments that go on online with the transgender community, if you even have a question about the community, I've heard it stated many times that that's considered hate speech. It's hateful. Because I have a question? How can that be? So we're put into a position now where we can't even ask questions to understand or to prevent me from offending somebody. I can't ask the question because the question could be considered hateful. Now, the back end of this is where it gets really disturbing for me. Ezra mentioned in there that Trudeau is rising up a woke army. So think about this for a minute and think about the possibilities of this bill for a minute. If enough woke people got involved in this, decided to sit down and target any political party that's not aligned with Trudeau and Singh, my question is then, what happens? Do we fall under then a single party state? Because anybody that opposes Trudeau is now in prison? I seriously want to ask the question, what happens to Poilievre when he just disagrees, when he steamrolls Trudeau during question period about transgender issues? It wasn't that long ago that somebody from the Liberal Party tabled a bill, a law, that we are not allowed to promote oil, the benefits of oil and gas. Where does this go? Ladies and gentlemen, this is, as it's been described by a few people, the most terrifying piece of legislation that's ever been created in the free world. And we need to stop it. It needs to stop. We are losing control here at an unreasonable pace, at a scary, scary pace. In the description is the constituency office contact information for Trudeau and Singh. Write them a letter. Send them an email, a fax, a voicemail, telling them that this is not right and we don't want this. Canadians don't want this. Do you want to live the rest of your life in fear, having to literally walk around with your head down because you don't want to make eye contact with somebody for fear of creating an uncomfortable, potentially offensive situation for somebody else? Living an existence where we can't ask questions. This is wrong. Millions upon millions of soldiers died so that we could have free speech in this country. If this bill goes through, every single person who died for free speech died for nothing. Absolutely nothing. I really appreciate you tuning in. I am grateful that you gave me your time in watching this video. I hope it changed you. I'm going to be following this. So if you're interested and you like what I've put out so far, hit the subscribe button so that you can keep up to date with anything further that comes out of this. This is going to be a pet project of mine. I'm going to stay on top of it, and any single time that there's an update, I'm going to post another video. Listen, thanks very much. Have a great day.